the pigeon. For some, it's a mascot of New York City. I mean, after all, they're all over the place. And the others, they jokingly call them flying rats. But for Jeff Staple, it represents a whole lot more than either of those. Today, Staple has transcended the scope of simply being a streetwear brand, and owner Jeff Staple now enjoys OG status as a pioneer and architect of the culture. But how did it all happen? How did a kid who believed in his idea so strongly that he sunk himself into $150,000 worth of debt for it manage to make it all work out in the end? Well, let's find out. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is the life and times of Jeff Staple. But before we get started, please take a second to hit that like button for me. Liking and sharing the video is the only way to get the YouTube algorithms to notice us, and we've been growing a lot more lately, and I can't thank you guys enough for all the help so far. But with that being said, let's jump right in. Born Jeff Ing, and no, Staple is not his government name. I know, shocker, right? But Jeff always had a passion for art, and as of 1996, he was more into graphic design. While attending Parsons School of Design, he took a silkscreen class which taught him the art of applying prints to paper. But Jeff wanted to lend his newfound talent to making t-shirts instead. Only problem was, the school had banned anyone from making t-shirts with their equipment for some reason. But not to worry, that wouldn't stop Jeff, who had no problems with a little breaking and entering to make his idea happen. Well, technically not breaking. Actually, he and a friend would leave a window unlocked in the silkscreen room, and after school, they would come back and climb in with blank t-shirts and run them all night. Pretty ballsy when you think about it, albeit unadvised. At the time, they were just kids with no aspirations or ideas of starting a business. They were basically just handing them out to friends to wear around campus. But on one fateful day in 1997, Jeff was wearing one of the shirts that he had made when he walked into a store on Lafayette Street. The manager noticed it and asked him where he had gotten it at. When Jeff told him that he made it himself, the manager stated, quote, "Oh wow, you should make more and we'll sell them in the store." They ordered 12 shirts as a test run, and when Jeff brought them back, they sold out faster than anyone thought that they would. So the manager ordered another 24. Now mind you, Jeff was still breaking into his school to make these, but he was young and dumb enough to not really think about the potential consequences of getting caught. Next up, the now legendary Union Shop, who was a lot smaller at the time, caught wind of the shirts and decided to order a set in a different design. The tees were a hit with the people, and with that, Staples the brand was inadvertently and unofficially born. But Jeff, being a graphic designer at heart, still wanted to take other projects as well. The popularity of the tees caused word to spread of his talents, and others began to come to him to get their CD covers, club invitations, and logos designed. While doing design work, he was approached to help a small magazine get off the ground. He agreed to help with the design end, and that small magazine would go on to be the legendary Fader. He also did work for Crooks, who was coming up at the time as well. And after bringing on Jeff to design album covers, Crooks would go on to sign artists like Mos Def, Common, Talib Kweli, and Dead Prez. Jeff was running hard at the time. He was making shirts to sell on Soho, he had his graphic design clients, he still was going to school, and he had 2 jobs. I mean, God knows how he was able to cram all of that into a 24-hour day, but he says that he was going on like 2 hours of sleep for an entire year. But everything would change when one day, Jeff was contacted by a guy in Japan asking to order 1,000 shirts in each design he had made. And on one hand, Jeff was ecstatic, but on the other hand, he had no idea how he was going to produce that many shirts. Because again, at the risk of sounding repetitive, he was breaking into his school to print them. And on a side note, damn, that's some lax ass security Dude had been breaking in for a year or more, and nobody was the wiser. Ultimately, he made the difficult decision to drop out of school and pursue Staple all out. But as anyone who has embarked on their own business journey knows, it can get stressful. And at one point, he even went $150,000 into debt funding the business. He had maxed out 8 different credit cards and his credit score had plunged to 669. But little did Jeff know, things were about to pick up in a major way. In 2005, Jeff Staple attended the Agenda trade show in Long Beach. While there, he met a representative from Nike who expressed interest in collaborating with Staple Design on a sneaker project. The rep gave Jeff his business card and asked him to follow up. After getting back home, he reached out and set up a meeting where Jeff presented the idea for a dunk collab, which included inspiration from New York City's ubiquitous pigeon population. The rep was so impressed that he kicked the idea upstairs, and they were so impressed that they decided to include the design in their upcoming City series. The results? Well, that's sneaker history. On release day, there were hordes of kids trying to get a chance to cop them. The mayhem that ensued caused near riots, and cops had to be called out just to try and contain the situation and escort the lucky few that did manage to get their hands on a pair out to waiting cars so they wouldn't get robbed outside. I go into a bit more detail in the history of Nike SB Dunk video, but long story short, the shoes were a wild success that would catapult Jeff and his Staple brand into the spotlight. But in 2002, Jeff opened Reed Space, a storefront that served as a hub for streetwear enthusiasts, showcasing the latest streetwear releases, hosting art exhibitions, and organizing cultural events. The store was known for its carefully curated selection. Reed Space played a significant role in the streetwear and sneaker culture, collaborating with various brands and hosting events that brought together artists, designers, and enthusiasts alike. Following the unprecedented success of the Pigeon Dunk and now Reed Space, Jeff decided it was a great time to introduce an accompanying clothing line. And in 2008, Staple Pigeon was officially born as a streetwear label under the Staple Design umbrella. Staple Pigeon made their name with unique designs, lots of attention to detail, and the incorporation of the pigeon logo. Staple Pigeon went on to collaborate with tons of other brands in the space, including Clarks, New Balance, Timberland, and Fragment Design, just to name a few. Jeff Staple is another one of those guys who's been around since the early days. He's been in the forefront of several milestones within the culture, including the rise of the SB Dunk, the rise of sneaker culture as a whole, and the rise of streetwear. Jeff Staple's work and contributions have had a huge impact on the entire sector. His designs and collaborations became highly sought after, and he gained recognition for his ability to capture the essence of street culture in his work. In 2016, Staple Design celebrated its 20th anniversary, marking 2 decades of creative work and collaborations. These days, Jeff enjoys OG status. All these years later, after being apprehensive about dropping out of school to pursue his dreams, Jeff was made an honorary graduate of Parsons. He's even taught classes there and at NYU. But realizing he was unable to help as many people this way as he would like, Jeff linked up with Skillshare, an online learning platform, and went from teaching classes for 30 to 40 kids to reaching 30,000 or more. This eventually evolved into a new podcast known as The Business of Hype, a podcast hosted by Jeff Staple that explores and examines various aspects of streetwear, fashion, and pop culture. After all of these years, Jeff can finally look back and bask in his success, although he says he refuses to do so. And in fact, in his office he keeps a printout of his old credit score of 669 from back in the day. And when asked why, he states it's a way to always remind him that he can never really rest on his laurels, and so that he always remembers where he came from. But what do you think? Are you a fan of Jeff's work over the years? hit us up in the comments section and let us know. Also, we hope that you smash that like button for us. Liking and sharing the videos is the best way to help us to continue to grow as a channel. And if you want to be updated whenever we drop a new video, then hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell so that you'll be reminded when each episode drops. But with that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, signing out until next time. Peace.